Hey guys, Barbara Walters here reporting live on scene with some more fresh Monday spoilers from M20. We're officially sitting at 180 out of 280, which means we're in the home stretch. And since this is the core set, we've seen almost no commons. Let's just say it's probably all downhill from here. But first, let's start with the greatest equipment ever printed as far as flavor goes. I'm of course talking about Colossus Hammer. It's a 1-drop, it's freaking huge, and it has an equip cost of 8. And of course, equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. So you've already got the absolute meme that is like equipping this to a fairy. And this thing's just going to be generally hilarious at the pre-release because you know I'm putting this in my deck. And boy, every time your opponent tosses a kill spell your way, you're basically losing 8 mana. But I will say, there's a couple free equip things. I don't think any of them are in standard. I could be wrong. So this has some implications outside of standard for sure, but I don't think there's many equipment decks in modern. So I don't know. I don't think this will single-handedly do it either. But some weird, obscure, like Artificer blue mix equipment deck or something in Commander, that'd be kind of cool. So this is just so dumb, and I love it. And next up, we've got Vanguardia de Caballeros Celestes. Y mi español es mucho mejor como Portuguese. And in general, too. By the way, fun joke for my Spanish friends out there. I always confuse the words caballo and caballero. I don't know why. And that card name would be way funnier if it was caballo. But in context, I guess this would be Vanguard of Celestial Knights. According to the translations I'm seeing online, it's Sky Knight Vanguard. I mean, I guess. That might actually be like a Sky Knight from the storyline, so that actually really makes sense. But yeah, it's a 1/2/4/2 in Boros colors. It's a human knight, not a human horse. And it's flying, and when it attacks, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, tapped and attacking. And this isn't a mythic. An unlimited no mana trigger that creates tokens once per turn when you can swing away because it's flying. That's insane. I mean, if this thing had the exact same stats it costs 4, I'd be like, okay, good card. But it's 2. I mean, this is clearly a mentor card. This is so strange that they would just print it out of nowhere. And in fact, I think that artwork is a Boros guild member. So that is very weird. I honestly think this is disgustingly overpowered. But I don't know. We'll see. Oh, the flavor text says, jump now! So next up we got a famous reprint, Fairy Miscreant. It's a 1/1/1 flyer fairy rogue, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control another creature named Fairy Miscreant, draw a card. A grand total of nobody played this card when it was in standard last time. Although, I gotta say, in a Simic cloning deck, I mean, there are more useful things you could clone, but, I mean, if card draw is that important to you, I could see people maybe playing this, but I don't know, it's a bit of a stretch. I mean, it is flying, but I don't know, dropping 3 to clone something that costs 1 and is that weak? Next up, Battalion Foot Soldier. What is going on with that hairstyle? Anyway, it's 2/2 for 3, and whenever this card enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards named Battalion Foot Soldier, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your library. A 2/2 for 3? Really? People already don't play this mechanic. The closest you're going to get is that growth chamber thing or whatever from Simic. I mean, even that vampire one, very few people played that. So I think this being just a vanilla, nothing special 2/2 for 3, I don't see it. I mean, we might get human synergy or soldier synergy because there is a metric buttload of humans in the set, but I don't know. Next up, we got, a Mega Woofer. It's a Pack Mastiff. It's a 2/2 for 2, a Hound, and if you pay 2, each creature you control named Pack Mastiff gets +1 until end of turn. What is with this? You can only put 4 in your deck, but it's a self-contained tribal thing. Like this, it never works. It's useless in the pre-release and the draft. Nobody ever plays it in Constructed. This is just dumb. Next up, we got a card that looks familiar enough. I think it's a reprint. It's a 3/2 for 4 zombie, and when Undead Servant enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token for each card named Undead Servant in your graveyard. More self-card synergy, so you get 0 zombies on the first cast, and then the other one has to be dead, and then you have to have like the other one in your hand. I mean, it's just not a good card at all. Then again, they're pushing self-mill because of that other card, so we'll see. Next up, Overcome, although they were unable to overcome the crap quality of whatever this was taken with. It's a 5-cost sorcery in green. Creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. But it is sorcery speed, so it should be something that's a 2/2 boost with trample. You better give them a phase or 2 to see that coming. So this is pretty nuts, but I mean, it's 5, it's sorcery, and green kind of needed something like this. It's a game winner. Next up, Air Elemental, a card that last time it was legal, literally nobody played. I'm convinced it was not in one single deck ever. But this time around, hey, guess what? It's an Elemental. What gave it away? It's a 4/4 for 5 and it has flying, which is why nobody played it. But still, honestly, I mean, there's not that many flying elementals right now, and I don't think blue is like the biggest elemental color. I'd say Christmas was the combo people would probably go with, but I don't know. I mean, I could see somebody played it. Maybe it'll finally get some appreciation. The artwork is so cool. We get weather that looks exactly like that in Wisconsin all the time. So next up, we got another rare Mystic Forge. It's an artifact because they're really pushing that for some reason. When I guarantee there's an upcoming reason. So it's a 4-drop, and you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You also may cast it if it's an artifact card or a colorless non-land card. Hey, fun fact, even if it was a land card, you can't, quote, cast it, so I don't know why they felt the need to say that. And then you can tap it, pay 1 life, and exile the top card of your library. But then you'd have to untap this to do it again. But then you still get that ability, so you kind of get 2 shots at it, which, boy, that's really pumping the synergy, but, I mean, it does cost 4, and it does absolutely nothing besides that. I mean, it's kind of like automatic draw, but I don't know. Clearly, I mean, it's very self-explanatory. This will be amazing if there's some kind of crazy artifact deck. If there isn't, it will be useless. So, you know, maybe all these artifacts are printed exclusively for formats outside of Standard. They're not going to jump on artifacts at all. But I think the next set is going to be extremely artifact heavy. We might be going to Angrath's plane, and he does a lot of, like, blacksmithing and stuff, which, you know, maybe he builds robots. Next up, they decided to print a Merfolk Pirate for some reason. Thanks for that. I appreciate that for the next 3 months. Hey, if any of you see like a card design or R&D person who works at Wizards, ask them point blank to their face what the hell they were thinking. So anyway, this is a 2/1 for 2 with flash, because of course it is, and whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a 1/1 counter on Brineborn Cutthroat. Yay! I hate this card already. Next up, we've got Drakuseth Maw of Flames. I don't know how they're translating a proper noun, it must just be phonetic. But this is another triple red card. I think we have then probably a full cycle of triple colored cards in Mythic and in Rare. The other ones are the Cavaliers, of course. So this is a legendary creature dragon, 7/7 for 7, and it's flying, of course, and when it attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and deals 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. Holy crap. Boy, that mid-range Sarkhan Jaya deck's looking pretty hot. And I'll be totally honest with you, I actually didn't intend that pun. Well, the 4 and the 3 can't target the same permanent, or player, or planeswalker. It says other. But it's up to, so I mean, yeah, still, that's basically like a double removal with a 4 to the face plus 7 coming at you in the air. So yeah, if somebody gets this out, you're in trouble. And for 7, they should be. I mean, it's an appropriately costed card, and you can't have 2 in play, except for Spark Double, which really should be banned. Next up, we've got Gorging Vulture. It's a 2/2 for 3, and it's a bird subtype with flying, and when it enters battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library in your graveyard. You gain 1 life for each creature card put into your graveyard this way. One of the better self-mill cards in all of Standard right now. Boy, I think people will definitely play this, and then it's 2 damage in the air or a potential air blocker. I mean, that's just good all around. Next up, we've got a card in German, and I'm convinced that the whole German language doesn't actually exist. It's just a prank played on the rest of Europe. But fine, I'll play along with Sturmsippenblitzboot. What the heck, Germany? What the heck? Bro, I have played multiplayer games on the internet. Y'all speak English, okay? You ain't fooling anybody. So this is, I guess, Lightning Stormkin. You know, I feel like Sturmsippenblitzboot would be the name of a energy drink. And that would be the mascot, and that art would be on the can. So anyway, this is a 2/2 for 2 with flying, and it has haste, and it's an elemental wizard, but that's it. Which is weird, because usually cards that look and sound and are costed and colored like this have prowess. But, nope, guess we had way too much of that already, and is it? Which, yeah, we do. Now, my German isn't that great, but I think that flavor text translates to something to the effect of, you're not getting through my door because my lock was made by Schloss. It's a solid brass deadbolt. That's not true, they're usually brass plated. So next up we got Yarok's Wave Crasher. It's a 4/4 for 4 elemental in blue. Whenever it enters the battlefield, return another creature you control to its owner's hand. And that is mandatory. Fantastic, those are always heavily played cards, thanks. It doesn't even have flash, like literally that's the only thing that you can do to make this card archetype actually work is to give it flash, so it's like a rescue card. Nope. So unless you've got a lot of mana and want an ETB to trigger twice, yeah, this is useless. I will say though, it says another, so if you drop this in when nothing's on your battlefield, you don't have to bounce this back to hand. Next up, we've got brought back. Oh, great. I can already imagine what this does. It's a 2-cost double white instant in rare. Hello. And choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn and return them to the battlefield tapped. So this is as close as you're going to get to a white counter spell without just it literally being Mana Tithe. Oh, you got a really good kill spell or a little combat trick that just absolutely killed me or a board wipe? Cool, I'm going to undo it. I actually love that they restricted it by timing and didn't put a CMC, color, or like any other restriction on it. And you know, this would be a little much on the power scale if they didn't come in tap. So I'm actually glad they did that. This is a very appropriate card. I think it's going to be very, very, very popular, especially in an Angels deck because, you know, that takes a while to get off the ground. Pun very much intended, because Angels cost a lot. So once you get them out there, you want to keep them out there. So if somebody blows them up, bring them right back for 2. I gotta say, though, you could have a lot more fun with this if it didn't say that they were put there from the battlefield this turn. Because, I mean, otherwise you could just mix it with blue or black, self-mill, put Emrakul in the graveyard, and then, hi. Next up, it's Tail's End. It's a 2-cost blue instant in rare, counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. Ooh, this is gonna give Repudiate Replicate a run for its money. I still think it's better, but this is pretty damn good. And you know what? Run both. I could see this main board or sideboard. This is just exceptionally good. According to something I didn't write on the internet, Planeswalker abilities are still considered activated abilities, even though they're nicknamed loyalty abilities. So let's see, this is basically Repudiate. So what have I shut down on Arena with a Repudiate? I've done Ilharg's ability, and that absolutely just destroyed their entire deck. I've stopped Teferi's Ultimate. I've stopped 2 Memorial abilities, 1 black, 1 red. Stopped a lot of stuff that said sack a creature, but it was part of the cost, so they still had to sack a creature. That was fun. I've stopped an Evolving Wilds with this. That was mean. I've stopped the Biogenic Oozes ability. I've stopped Tender Shoot's trigger. So yeah, very, very useful in the standard meta right now, so don't underestimate this card. Next up, it's Vorstkla, which apparently is in English. It's an elemental horror, and it's just straight up a 7/7 for 6. So there you go. Of course, people play this in an elemental deck. Next up, Thunderkin Awakener. It's a 1/2 for 2 elemental shaman. That's interesting because he's not an elemental. He's an elemental as an adjective shaman. And honestly, that is a complete BS way to make that on tribal because it isn't. He isn't an elemental. So he has haste, and whenever he attacks, choose target elemental creature card in your graveyard with toughness less than Thunderkin Awakener's toughness. Return that card to the battlefield tapped and attacking, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Not exile it? Do they not know how that effect works? Because you're supposed to exile it. Oops. Now, I mean, in red, it's not that hard to boost him, but most of the boosts are attack only. Some of them are toughness too, but then it's single use. I think in a Christmas-colored elemental tribal deck, you probably won't be able to drop many counters on him, unless I'm forgetting something. So, not very reliable. I mean, his toughness is 2. That's not going to bring back a whole lot. But I feel like there's got to be something in mind when they printed him. I don't know. We'll see. And finally, bonus spoiler, did you know that there's an M20 product that you can buy right now? Right this second. Yeah, it's this little bugger right here. You can actually buy it on eBay, Amazon, and probably at your local store right this second. In fact, my distributor sold out. These are dirt cheap. I don't know what the MSRP is because it doesn't have one, but it costs about $4.50 at my distributor, so can't be that expensive. And those dice are between 50 cents and $2 retail, so you can get 2 of them. That's cool. So, I mean, last I heard the MSRP is $14.99, but that is a really big margin markup. So I could see a store selling these like as low as maybe 10 or 11. Plus, it's the new Learn to Play Gateway product. So if you're not familiar, it's 2 60-card pre-constructed decks that are 0 variants, and they each contain 5 rares, which looks kind of cool. They're usually not very good. I don't have a deck list for this, actually. I'm sure it's somewhere, but it wasn't on the first 2 pages I looked at, so whatever. But it's you get 2 quick start Learn to Play guides, and then you get 1 booklet featuring the World and Rules of Magic, whatever that is. Can you tell I'm just reading their promotional thing? You get 2 cards to help players get started with each deck, which is the Do Not Shuffle cards. So it says on your turn do this, and it says, hey, like, don't shuffle the deck. Just, it's in an order to show you like a demo. So it's kind of like the pre-rigged tutorials on Arena. Although I'd say it's probably closer to the completely pre-rigged tutorials on, what the heck was that? Duels of the Planeswalkers. That was sort of the precursor to Arena. Those things, when they were teaching you how to play, they would rig every single card and what happened, what the opponent did. It was all pre-scripted to just teach you certain scenarios, which, I'm saying that like it's a bad thing. No, it's a wonderful thing. You want to show somebody, well, this is what happens when you do this, and when you double block, and when this is flying, and then you do this, and then you boost it in the middle of combat, and then you get the idea for all the timing and the strategy and that kind of stuff. So this is that in paper form, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So you're supposed to just take the decks as is, and you're supposed to do this big back and forth where it shows you what to do on like your first couple turns, and then you learn by doing, which a lot of people learn better doing. So usually when I'm teaching somebody how to play, I will build a deck just like one of these two. I actually finally found the deck list, so I got them up on screen right now, by the way. But yeah, I'll just do like one of every evergreen ability. I built it just out of commons and uncommons and bulk rares, so it's a dirt cheap deck. They can keep it, obviously. But for that low of a price, you get two decks. I'd almost recommend to just pick this up. I mean, it comes down to easier versus cheaper, and it's not really that expensive. Now, the wiki page that I'm looking at for the deck list does not have that mouse over JavaScript thing where it'll show you the card, but I know that for sure Sephara Sky's Blade is an M20 card, so some of them are in here. And fun fact, Angelic Guardian was from the M19 gift pack. It was one of the front cards where that's the only place you could get it. So that's pretty wild, because that card was actually selling like really good. I mean, it was a couple bucks a piece. I made some money on that card. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, you could get a couple of the M20 cards ahead of time if you pick this up right now, but that's not the intended purpose of this. You're not supposed to buy it to rip it apart. But that said, they did put Sephara in it. I think they know to drop in some tempting things, or at least some very good reprint staples into these, so that, they kind of do have two markets for these. But I think I already mentioned my distributor is sold out of these, which means that nobody can get any more, which means that if they sell to people who just want a couple cards in it, you don't have any left to actually get people into the game and get them in the hands of the people who are supposed to have these. That's not good. Oh, and the last thing to mention is that you get one MTG Arena code card, not two, so you just get one between the two decks, I guess. And what do you unlock with that? Well, probably not these decks, because you can't have Sephara because she's not in the game yet. I mean, unless they do have a way around that. But what I do know for sure is that they're sure as hell not going to tell you what the code is for. Anywhere, on any webpage. Thanks, Wizards, for your usual level of clarity and detail. So if anybody bought one and knows what the hell it redeems for, let me know. The funny thing is, usually, I think they patched this recently, you would type in the code and it would just say code redeemed and that's it, and you still don't actually know what it gave you. I think now in the new version of Arena, it pops up on the screen. But it might just be like, oh, here, a deck. And then like you click off it and you're like, oh, okay, well, what was in it? And then it's lost forever. So I don't know if one of you guys tried it and you know for sure. Leave it down in the comment section. So anyway, I'd wait for the real M20 if I were you. I mean, this is a pretty good value for people just starting out, but that really wouldn't be any of you pretty much. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.